Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain is presented by Golden Corral.
Yeah, well, Dave Despain and company. Hi there, welcome. Yeah, it's an hour later than normal. That's this week only. It's always an occasion we look forward to. Introducing Jeff Gordon as co-host of the show. Nice to see you again. Welcome back.
Nice to see you. It's a pleasure. Love the new digs here.
How about it?
I know. I like it. You guys just continue to step it up.
It looks exactly the same. In the
yeah, I was going to say, everybody at home, what are you talking about? But no, the new Speed Channel studios over here, and it's been a while since I've been on the show, so thanks for having me back. What did I do to deserve to come back?
We thought you were going to win the All-Star race. We'll touch on that in a moment. But let me ask you first, in all seriousness, about the bigger picture. You were on hand today for the inaugural induction of the NASCAR Hall of Fame first class. I'm wondering how that felt when, did seeing the King up there bring back memories of his last race, which was your first race? Did you have flashbacks of your rivalry with Earnhardt? How did that whole occasion affect you, if at all?
Well, it was an amazing event today, by the way. The fans that came out, just seeing how professional, first class, the whole thing, really how it came together, the presentation, of course. The first thing that stuck out to me was that this is motivation for all drivers and car owners and people that are part of this sport to they now have something to really be proud of, to say, my goal is I want to someday be in the Hall of Fame. And that's something that we were missing, as well as the professionalism that it brings us compared to other sports. But a lot of memories, flashing through my head and things, learning new things. I mean, I thought that Junior Johnson and the whole story and Darrell getting up there and talking about contract negotiations and just some of the neat stories that were told, as well as Dale Inman and just hearing about Bill France Sr. and how it all got started. So all of it to me was fantastic. And of course, when Senior was inducted, we had some great battles and rivalries and good times as well, on and off the track. And so a lot of those memories certainly came to the forefront.
866 Wind Tunnel, the phone number. W Tunnel, emails to windtunnel@speedtv.com. We're keeping an eye on the Wind Tunnel Facebook page, Twitter. Got the chat going on. It's now speed.com. That's $20. 10 last week, 10 this week. We kick off Hot Topics with last night's NASCAR Sprint All-Star race. We really did think he was going to win it. We believe in Heap Good Mojo. But last night, not so much. Tonight's guest hit the wall on lap 1, was never thereafter competitive. I kind of thought the big crash was just a mercy killing for the 24 at that point. In contrast, Kurt Busch brushed the wall twice, didn't hurt the Blue Deuce all that badly. Surged to the front at the end, won $1 million and the chance to drive 1.5 miles in reverse. Biggest cheer of the night, a tie for Kyle Busch crashing while attempting to take the lead, and for Jimmy Johnson going through the grass after dominating all night, as he does most of the time when they go there. At Indianapolis, jiggering the qualifying format doesn't change the basics. 500 pole, a big enough deal to make Helio Castroneves too nervous for a TV interview, but not too jumpy to jump in and turn his fastest lap of the week when it mattered most, thus taking most of the drama out of the new qualifying format. Yesterday's big winner, car owner sweep of the Indy pole and NASCAR All-Star race for America's premier car owner and tonight's last caller. Briefly on the bikes at Le Mans, Jorge Lorenzo outbreaking teammate Valentino Rossi, goes on to lead a Yamaha 1-2 sweep in MotoGP. Jorge now leads the championship by 9, Nicky Hayden finishing 4th. And file this under Just Ain't Right. Moto2's Alex D'Angelo's taken out by a bike with no rider. That just ain't right. All right. Anything you'd like to say about the race last night, or should we just leave it behind?
You pretty much summed it up. I know our chances went out the window on lap 1, not even lap 1. Didn't get to the start-finish line, or barely made it to the start-finish line. So I was pretty disappointed because we did really have a great car. But it was exciting. And, that finish there with 10 to go, throwing in the team into it with the 4-tire stop, I thought was a big moment, changing moment for the 48, unfortunately. And then, the restart and the 10-lap shootout is always exciting and fun.
It's going to be dramatic regardless, and that's what people are going to remember.
Definitely. And, the battle between the Gibbs teammates there that sort of allowed the 2 and the 48 to get up there to battle for the win.
Quickly, who would you name for the next Hall of Fame class? second annual?
Oh, my goodness.
You got names in mind?
I mean, I think Pearson's a given, in my opinion. I think that, he was right up there with potential to be in the first class. I would think Yarborough. I don't know. Give me some more names. I think it's going to be tough. I thought it was tough for the first class. It's going to be really tough for the second class. I mean, I think you could debate whether DW should be in the second or third class. But then there's so many beyond the drivers. Maybe a Rick Hendrick or a Bud Moore or somebody like that.
Let me do a little nostalgia.
Oh gosh.
You recognize this, right?
Unfortunately.
The guy who took that photograph tells me it's worth lots and lots of money now, and I'm curious what you would pay me for this one so you could tear it up and get rid of it.
Well, I guess from what I hear, I'm going to have to pay for a lot of them.
Now that we have him in a nostalgic mood, and now that the show has, in contrast, leapt into the 21st century, I mean, we're on Facebook and Twitter. We may need to update our clever little animation a bit, or perhaps not.
Why change a good thing?
It's not actually an email, see? Dennis Fixon posted this on the Facebook page. Been a huge JG fan since the night I saw him lap the field on the half-mile High Banks, Belleville, Kansas on his 19th birthday. He's never looked back. Come August 4th, it'll be 20 years since that runaway birthday win in the Belleville Midget Nationals. That is my favorite email because it reminds me how fortunate I was to be reporting on this open-wheel rising star who started to make his way in the stock car world. Give a listen to this.
Look at us.
But yeah, I've been really busy, running the stock cars down south today at Charlotte. Ran here in Indianapolis at the fairgrounds last night and had a really good win there. And we're going to try to do it again here tonight.
So, Jeff, does anything jump out at you as you look at that freeze frame?
We look a lot different.
See, I'm noticing the fact that you've got the Diet Pepsi driver uniform and the Budweiser hat. I'm wondering about that.
Hey, whatever it took to get in that race car, I don't know. That's a great call because I know I wasn't 21.
Somebody must have been paying attention because what happens next is we go to a little video highlighting your weekend.
But it was the Budweiser shootout that Bud night before the 500, I think, sponsored.
So you're thinking it might have been a sponsor hat. I'm a little curious about it.
It wasn't my sponsor, but it was a sponsor of the race.
Sponsor hat. I'm curious about that because look what happens. We come back from this feature where we're back on camera, and the Budweiser hat has disappeared.
No, that was just the beginning of the hat change.
I see.
That's the sponsors looking out for things. I have no idea.
He's also got the Diet Pepsi in there. We pay attention to stuff
and by the way,
that.
I'm going to critique myself. You can't even see Diet Pepsi on the can, so that would never happen today.
Fast forward 20 years, what happens? Budweiser's current Sprint Cup driver is headed for Jeff's team, Hendrick Motorsports. And that Pepsi sponsorship started out as that little deal on the Young Kids Midget. It's now a multi-million-dollar corporate partnership. We may need to talk about Casey Kane before this hour is out.
Maybe.
But right now, I need to take care of our sponsors. We're going to head for break. Jeff says he likes this show because we ask tough questions. So, is this his worst nightmare, that the 48 would complete the drive for 5 before the 24? We'll ask him. Also ahead, Amiel wins the pole. Kanan has to bump his way in. Say what? And Robin Miller will pontificate about it all. Indy 500 coverage coming shortly. And last call tonight, the car owner who swept the weekend, Roger Penske, talking about winning the 500 pole and the Sprint All-Star race.
Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain is presented by Golden Corral's Great American Seafood Tour. It's all part of the dinner buffet, all for around $10.
Jeff Gordon coming. Gordon mounts a charge. He is not going to be denied by that 48 car. Jeff Gordon has the drive to win this race.
Whoa, they hit, I'm telling you.
48 is testing my patience, I can tell you that. It takes a lot to make me mad, and I'm pissed right now.
Jeff Gordon's career stats are impressive, but the real reason we love having him on Wind Tunnel is he actually likes fielding the tough questions. I have one of those frequently asked by the fans since the episode.
I would expect nothing less.
The most frequently replayed soundbite perhaps in the recent history of NASCAR. Jeff Gordon with a 4-letter word. Let's review the background behind the question first. It goes back to the last couple of weeks of the month of April. And here's how it kind of played out.
Tell you what, we got a little rivalry going on here today, boys. At the 48 and Jimmy Johnson 24, Jeff Gordon, they are after each other. I think you can see how good those two cars are. Actually pushing Jeff Gordon down the front straightaway. That will make Jeff Gordon very unhappy.
Look at the aggression and the drive shown by Jeff Gordon.
Whoa, they hit, I'm telling you.
I don't know if he has the best car, but Jeff Gordon has the drive to win.
I'm pretty disappointed in how he was racing me today.
4 times, a little upset. I guess he thought you got into him, I guess. Oh, he's treated different than everybody else.
And you see Gordon gets down on the apron. Jimmy Johnson crowded 24 Jeff Gordon.
The 48 is testing my patience, I can tell you that. It takes a lot to make me mad, and I'm pissed.
Look at there. We just repeated it twice. Since Talladega, I've heard it over and over again. Maybe that radio transmission where you called him 4-time kind of sarcastically contributes to it. It is the theory that the real root of this disagreement.
I meant to say 4-Pete, because he's 4-Pete. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's 4-Pete.
On the track, sometimes you
I understand
can't
that.
gather your thoughts.
What fans keep saying to me is this is really all about Gordon being upset about the possibility that Johnson will get 5 before he does.
No, I think that's motivation for both of us. I think, you can ask anybody and ask Jimmy. I think that while he's been a huge admirer of mine growing up, he's used that also as motivation, which I think is normal. I used Earnhardt, for motivation and guys that were doing what I wanted to do. And now, after he's been kicking our butts for the last several years, I definitely use him as motivation as well. And I think we both want to get 5. I don't know if it's really a race to get 5. He could do something, even more special by doing 5 in a row. So, I think we're just intense rivals because we're both very competitive. And there's been several things said on the radio, not just about
sure
Jimmy and myself, but several others, that if you sat here and put them on TV, that you could sit here and debate and question all of it. But we're still great friends. And because our team, the DuPont Chevrolet, stepped it up this year, we're having fun racing with those guys, which is something we haven't been able to do for a while. And I think that was my confidence at Texas, was we've got a car that can win this race. It can beat anybody, but the 48 was the guy to beat that day.
What did Rick say in the milk and cookies meeting?
I think that Rick is the type of guy that he demands respect and professionalism, and I think that it getting aired out into the media and the public was something that he would prefer not to have. It wasn't anything about don't go run into one another, don't race one another. It was none of that. It was, hey guys, you're going to have to go out and compete hard, and you're going to have to race one another. We understand that, and that's great. But just be a little bit more cautious about how it can affect the internal workings of the teams. You got to understand these guys work right side by side with one another, building both cars during the week. So there's a bigger picture.
You want that to continue
just
to
a bigger
happen.
picture you got to think about.
Memorial Day weekend just ahead. Let's do our Golden Corral question of the week here as Jeff Gordon goes off to compete in the Coke 600. We want to know who you think will win the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 and why. You can pick either or both. Indy 500, Coke 600, who do you think will win and why? And coming up, what is it with Jeff Gordon and green-white-checkers? Those seem to have become a bit of a problem this year. We'll find out if that's true or not. And what does Roger Penske think of a $20 million bonus for the Indy 500 Coke 600 double? More to the point, would he as an owner try and get the money? And Robin Miller, living the dream, covering the month of May at Indy, even though the month of May is only like a week and a half long now. We'll check it out shortly. Friday, it was announced that Dale Earnhardt will soon become the first stock car racer ever to appear on a Wheaties box twice. They passed out samples at the press conference. What's really cool, though, is if you have this one. This is the first one. With 82 Cup wins, Jeff Gordon has passed the Intimidator, trails only Petty, Pearson, Allison, Waltrip, and Yarborough on the all-time win list. But in the last couple of seasons, you've won only once. This year, you've been like this close again and again and again.
Right.
Let's review quickly. First of all, we had Martinsville. On the pole for the green-white-checker, Matt Kenseth gets into you, and then you and Matt get together, and look, there goes the 11 car through to win the race. That one got away. We go on to Phoenix. Ryan Newman came out of nowhere, gets the jump on the late race restart on the green-white-checker. He wins. Richmond wasn't actually a green-white-checker, but it was very late in the race that Kyle Busch, who'd had the dominant car, got around you on the late race restart, and he too goes on to win. What's the problem with green-white-checkers?
Is there any place you want a green-white-checker? I mean, if you're a driver, I can tell you there's not many places you want a green-white-checker.
You said it over and over. You said it here tonight. You're happy with the performance of the team, but it's got to make you a little bit crazy to see those opportunities getting away or not.
Yeah, well, you got to understand some of those opportunities were just that. I mean, in Martinsville, we were a third or fourth place car, and we can't, we either stayed out or took too tired, whatever we did.
Strategized your way.
Yeah, we strategized our way in there, and we had it won until the third green-white-checkered or second or third, whatever it was. And so, I think the only one I'm really disappointed with was Phoenix, because at Phoenix we had the tire, the strategy, the position. We had everything to win that race, and I just blew the restart. Other than that, like Richmond, the 18 was so superior in there, especially on the restarts. And again, that was like the second or third caution that we'd had prior to the end. So I don't want to make excuses. I mean, you got to get it done when those opportunities come your way. But, I feel like the only one that really was the one that we should have won, Texas, yes, that was a great day for us, and we were fast. We took 4 tires. We were 8th or 10th. Who knows what would have happened in that race if we hadn't gotten the wreck. But the one at Phoenix definitely is one that I feel like is the one that really got away.
You could have gotten that one with your own, doing. Let's go to the phones. I got Josh on the line up in Huntersville. Josh, you're on with Jeff Gordon.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I just like to say I'm a huge fan, Jeff.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. So what's up with Hendrick lately? I mean, Jimmy Johnson doesn't have his golden horseshoe ever since they took that wing off. Martin is way off from what he was last year, and I don't even want to talk about Dale Jr. So what's it going to take for Hendrick to finish 1, 2, 3 in the points again?
Well, we got a lot of racing left to go in this season. So, I think what's happened with the chase format is that you've got a lot of teams that are trying things to get themselves better for the end of the season to really be able to compete for the championship. And so you're going to take risks. And you're going to change, a lot of things within the team to just try to get out there and push the envelope. The other thing is, we're really now in our first season of starting the season with the double file restarts and green-white-checkers. So that's going to change a lot of things as well. And, we saw, last night in the All-Star race, Jimmy pretty much had the dominant car. And then, those restarts there at the end, just didn't fall in his favor. And that's, happened to us and some other guys along the way. So, don't count Hendrick Motorsports out yet. It's a long season, a lot of racing, and I think when it really comes down to the championship, I think we're gonna have a lot of guys. We've already had all 4 cars in the top 12 or top 10 in points this year once, even with some of the issues that all of us have had. So and then also give the competition a lot of credit. Gibbs, Childress, Penske. These guys, they know how to continue to make their teams, better.
And they've got a good example to try to live up to in Hendrick Motorsports. We're going to head for a commercial break, but on the way to the break, we want to remind you that it is a Robin Miller night. Our man in Indy will be joining us right after the break. He looks like he's done a good day's work. Robin Miller and Jeff Gordon next.
Formula One on Speed. Turkey, where ancient traditions collide with the modern warriors of F1. You're at the eye of the storm. Formula One, Turkish Grand Prix. Live coverage begins next Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, exclusively on Speed. One of the greatest racing events in the world.
It's just an electrifying atmosphere right now. The battle is on at the front.
24 hours of Le Mans, live June 12th, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
Hey, the new combined Indy 500 pole day, bump day weekend. Well, that turned out to be a Penske Racing home run. The new format, yesterday's 9 fastest qualifiers in a day-ending 90-minute pole qualifying session. Most notable, I thought, for the feel-good stories. Alex Tagliani, for example, and Graham Rahal, and Ed Carpenter, all making the top 9 in one-shot rides. Also notable for the total breakdown of Andretti Autosports. Tony Kanaan crashed yesterday, crashed again today. Bud. And Danica Patrick booed when she complained on the PA that her car was slow, and none of the Andretti 5 cars made the shootout. The only surprise en route to Helio Castroneva's fourth 500 pole, he went first in the shootout. Most people seem to think he'd go last. His teammates, Will Power, Ryan Briscoe, gave Penske 3 of the top 4 starting spots. And Chip Ganassi strategized the new pole format perfectly. Dario Franchitti went out with seconds to go and track conditions optimal and ran third fastest, so he'll be outside the front row again. Drama on bump day, big. Tony Kanaan had to bump his way in. Paul Tracy's team withdrew his time, and then despite hair-raising effort, he couldn't get the speed needed to get back in. And when Sarah Fisher's second car with Jay Howard aboard did exactly the same thing, it meant Sebastian Saavedra qualified despite crashing Brian Herta's car late in the day. He was getting checked out at the hospital when he got the news that he was in. So how about that? Let's bring in Robin Miller and get his opinion on all this. Robin, a lot of ground to cover here. Let's begin. Let's do it chronologically. I want to start with the new pole shootout format. You called it a winner at Speed.com. Why?
David, just because I think, I give Brian Barnhart a lot of grief, and most of it's deserved, but I think cutting it down to 2 days and having the Fast 9 kind of taking off the Fast 6 of their road course racing, when you only got 37 or 38 cars, you got to do something, and 2 days was perfect. The Fast 9 maybe needs a little tweaking, but it worked out pretty well because, you know what? The people that were here, and they had the biggest crowd they've had since the split, all cheered and they were entertained, and that's the most important thing you got to do. Get some fans, and when you get them, you got to entertain them. So I think that worked out pretty well.
With the exception of Kanaan, whom we'll get to, the predictable names were up front, including or excluding those names. Your choice. Who impressed you in qualifying?
Well, I mean, I sometimes act like I don't give Penske and Castroneva's credit. I mean, they've won 16. The team's won 16 poles, 15 Indy 500s. Elio's fourth pole. I mean, he did a good job, obviously. With everybody's got the same car and the same engine. He did a hell of a job. And this place and him are meant for each other. Whatever it is, they really get along. But you mentioned it earlier. Alex Tagliani can't get a steady ride, so he starts his own team. They've been fast all year. And you got a guy like Rob Edwards who's really done a good job putting the team together. Alan McDonald, guys like that have been bounced around the series. And I think Bruno Junqueira showed you again today why this guy's such a good race driver. In 7 laps, he made the race. But Graham Rahal ought to be in a great ride the rest of the year. This is going to be his last race unless somebody steps up. Ed Carpenter did a good job. Davey Hamilton, Townsend Bell, the 2 females that out-qualified Danica are rookies, Anna Beatrice and Simona Di Silvestro. A lot of good stories, and they all came from the little teams. Eric Batchelor's Conquest Racing team got two people in. So I just think the whole story this weekend was all the little people that really stepped up.
You and I have commiserated before about bump day and how boring it's been of late. It was anything but boring today. Tony Kanaan having to bump his way in. Give me your reaction to Paul Tracy's team and Jay Howard's team withdrawing times that would have put him in the race.
Because Jacques Lazier and A.J. Foyt's car and Jay Howard were both practicing a 224, Tracy thought he was going to get bumped, so he withdrew a speed that actually would have made the race, looking back, and then he couldn't get going fast enough. And then Jay Howard withdraws his time because if he doesn't do that, then Tracy's going to go out at the gun and maybe beat him. So it was kind of you're screwed if you go out and you're screwed if you don't. And a guy that had the 35th fastest speed, Sebastian Saavedra, is in the race, but good for Brian Herta. Too bad for Paul Tracy and Geico, because I can't imagine him not being in this race.
I thought the best soundbite of the week was Brian Herta comparing his team to 2 guys in a truck racing. We need a commercial break. We'll come back and continue our conversation with Robin Miller. We're also going to congratulate Roger Penske on doing the car owner double yesterday, winning the Indy 500 pole and the NASCAR Sprint All-Star race. Not a bad night for the car owner. And Wind Tunnel fans suggest names for Ella Gordon's soon-to-be-born little brother. That should be fun.
I'm Jeff Gordon, and you're watching Speed.
A.J. Foyt, the winner of the 500-mile race.
Johnny Rutherford wins the 1980 Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Robin Miller's been covering Indy since those pictures started and for years before that, and he's with us again tonight. Tony Kanaan certainly added a fair bit of drama to today with his 2 crashes, but when you add to that Danica Patrick getting booed because her car, complaining about her car so slow, and the overall performance of Andretti Autosports, what on earth is going on over there?
You know, they kind of fell off the map the last year. I mean, they were nowhere last year, even though Danica was 5th in points last year. And you know, when Ryan Hunter-Reay went to the team, Kanaan seemed like he started clicking again because they had some chemistry. But he was fast all week until today, and it just, I don't know, or yesterday and today, he had a horrible weekend. Ryan struggled. Danica's the slowest of the 4 women in the field. Marco's not nearly as fast as you thought he'd be. And John Andretti is a part-timer, and he's about where you thought he'd be. I mean, he did a good job. It's just that whatever's going on there engineering-wise or internally, it's not working.
It certainly didn't work for Tony today, although I thought he and the team did a tremendous job of pulling it out. As you know, Jeff Gordon is alongside, and you told me beforehand to be sure and save you some time to ask him a question or two. He's all yours.
Jeffrey, I asked Dario Franchitti the other day, I said, if we can pull this $20 million deal off and get Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch, Casey Kane, Kevin Harvick to the Indy 500 where they belong, well, you belong, how long will it take him to get up, to speed? And he said he can get Jimmy Johnson up to 222 miles an hour in 2 days and Gordon probably a day because he's an open wheel guy. Your thoughts?
Well, after watching some of those cars over the last couple of days, I think that it doesn't matter how much time you put behind the wheel. Those things can be a handful there at Indy. Indy's a tough track. You know, in our cars, it's tough. I can't imagine doing over 220 there at Indy. You know, I talked to Tony Stewart about this, and I think he and maybe Juan Pablo Montoya, they're really 2 guys that I think could possibly pull this off. And even Tony told me it would take months and months to really have, first you got to be with a competitive team, and then you've got to put in the time while you're running a full-time Cup schedule. He felt like it was next to impossible. Coming from Tony Stewart, it pretty much, I mean, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just asking him because I thought he might be interested in doing it. So maybe it's only Juan Pablo Montoya that might truly have the opportunity.
1 minute left, Robin. Go ahead.
Well, neither one of them can fit in an Indy car right now. They're going to have to go on a diet. We're talking about you, and you won Salem and Winchester in midgets and sprints. So don't tell me 200 miles an hour bothers you. Here's the other thing: Chip Ganassi's always talking about what a talent scout he is. You and your dad went to Cleveland once to get a meeting with him. He wouldn't meet with you. Bill Marvel of USAC wrote a letter to Roger Penske once and said, you need to meet this Jeff Gordon and put him in Indy Lights car. That never happened. You belong at the Indy 500 just like Cale Yarborough and the Allison brothers did to complete your career, and I will guarantee you we'll get you a good ride.
Well, thank you, Robin. And if I could step back about 18 years right now and be able to get there, I would take that opportunity in a second. I love Indy. It was something that meant the world to me growing up as a kid, but they had this little race in 1994 called the Brickyard 400 that we won, and my dreams at Indy were fulfilled that day. So I don't have to be in the Indy 500, but I mean, I still have the desire. I think it would be cool, but I don't think it's realistic.
That's where we'll leave it. $20 million is not enough to turn the trick in the case of Jeff Gordon, because he's won the Brickyard 400. So Miller, give it up. Get out of here. Your time is done. Thanks for your hard work today. We'll see you next week, okay?
See you, boys.
Right.
See you later.
That's Robert Miller. After the break, we'll have more with Jeff Gordon. We're going to tell you how you can win this cool collectible. So don't go anywhere. Look, Ma, no wires. Want to congratulate Destiny Racing. Clobbered the field, scoring the most points in our Super 7 Sweep Fantasy Racing game this week, and thus Destiny Racing gets the autographed Jeff Gordon, honoring our Soldiers diecast from Motorsports Authentics with the paint scheme Jeff will run next week when he wins the Coke 600. And now you Gordon fans have one more shot at a very cool 24 prize. Did I jinx him? I sure as hell hope not. Score the most points picking the Memorial Day weekend races, and you win the incredibly cool Jeff Gordon Levitator diecast and base, the 24 car floating in midair. How did they do that? It's made by Motorsports Authentics. It could be yours. Jeff will even autograph it for you. It's about the easiest game you can play. If you're not signed up, go to the games tab, speed.com. Register, put in your picks by Thursday night at midnight. Maybe you will be the lucky one to win this week.
After I saw the grand prize, I'm going to get on myself and check it out.
You have driven the Fanatic simulator, I understand, and it's a pretty cool piece. So.
Very, very cool.
When we know you're coming, we always try to have something a little special lined up for you. As you know, I think the last time you were here, we played How Well Do You Know Your Spouse?
Oh, gosh.
And you and Ingrid are still married and have since had a child and are expecting another one.
That's right.
And so Ella's going to have a little brother.
That's
so
right.
So what we did is we invited our tunnel heads to help you. Have you picked the name yet?
We've got a couple that we're narrowing it down, so I could use some help.
You're about to have a couple more.
Great.
Some of our favorite suggestions, which came in on Facebook. John Foster proposes Dale Richard Gordon, honoring 2 of today's Hall of Fame inductees. Roger Whitehead suggests Rainbow Gordon. I'm thinking a little too new age for the average NASCAR fan. Jennifer Lindsay likes Chase. Michael Rasmussen says Flash after the comic book hero. Lori Reeser Lauback named her son Cole after Cole Trickle and thinks Cole Jeffrey Gordon has a nice ring to it. And finally, we got several variations of the idea that you should simply name him Jeffrey Michael Gordon, your name, so 20 years down the road, everybody could refer to him as Junior.
I can tell you it's not going to be Junior, and the reason is not against anything being Junior. It's my wife is from Belgium, and she says they don't do Junior.
They don't do.
That's not a Bel. So we try to keep as much family tradition from Gordon as well as the Van de Bosch family in the household. Yes.
That's wise. Good for you.
And Bill Elliott's son is named Chase, so can't take.
That's
take
out.
That one's
good
out.
point. Good point.
all great ideas. So yes,
we hope we were a big help. Steve Daniels has posted a question for you on our Facebook page. He says you've been in NASCAR 17 years, won about everything there is to win. Have you started thinking about what's next? What do you see Jeff Gordon doing in 10 years? I would like to, he, by the way, gets a bobbler for that. I would like to add the fact that you recently left International Management Group, the big name in sports management, and became the first management client for Just Marketing, Zach Brown's company, which previously was known as a sponsorship company. So what can Zach's company do for you over the next 10 years, which Steve is asking about, that IMG couldn't?
Well, I think especially in this economy, having the pulse of motorsports, I think is really important because what I've learned is that my passion and my desires are really in motorsports, whether that continue on with Hendrick Motorsports after I'm driving, and even if it does, I think that Just Marketing still plays a vital role. And I've dealt with them enough with some sponsorship opportunities that I love how they go after it, and they're very aggressive, and they really are in the know of who's wanting to be a part of motorsports from a sponsorship side as well as from an endorsement side, and then even beyond that. And I think this opportunity is going to open up doors for both of us that could reach outside of motorsports.
Does this translate down or narrow down into specific things for which you envision needing sponsorship? Are you going to get a World of Outlaws team? We get people whining all the time because you don't have an outlaw team.
That's not really big on my radar, but I would love to do that. And I've talked to Tony and to Casey about how when it really comes to things like that outside of driving, I really become a serious businessman. I want to see a business model of how it's going to function and make money.
But it's going to cost a lot of money, and that's why you got Zach. Well, he's not going to tell us, Stephen, what he's going to do for the next 10 years, but we've narrowed it down to stuff that's going to cost a lot of money. I need a break at that point. Ingrid, you've been warned. Next week, Wind Tunnel Live, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Jess, the 2010 Indy 500 winner, and Troy Corser, who has put the BMW up on the box in World Superbike racing and is coming to America. We'll also have Robin Miller.
Boy, this is a moment. Checkers are out, and they are down, and it is Jeff Gordon victorious at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
I'm speechless, man. I mean, this is the greatest day of my life. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's a wonderful feeling.
It was an emotional moment, and in honor of that 1994 win, we're going to talk about Formula One.
Oh, great. Nice transition.
Speaking of things that cost a lot of money, you remember the Monticello Motor Club in upstate New York, I believe.
Yeah, I know it well.
The exclusive country club racing circuit, which the president claims is now in negotiation with Bernie Ecclestone to have a Formula One race. Do you think that's for real? Does Bernie know that he can get you to help pay for it? Do you think this is going to happen? What's going on?
I'm really anxious to see where this all goes. I've been there and driven around it, and it's not what you would immediately picture as an F1 facility. If a lot of funding comes in and a lot of time is there to be able to build this facility up, the area has some potential. It's an hour and a half outside of New York City. It could be spectacular. As it sits now, I don't see it being a reality. I think that there's a lot of infrastructure that has to be put in place.
Apparently, the guy, Dalkey's been there and looked at it and told them what they need to do, and they're like, yeah, no problem, we can do that. We got Jeff Gordon.
Well, there's a lot of money in that part of the country, so anything is possible, and I never say never, and I think it'd be very cool if they could pull it off.
I know you're going to be really disappointed that we're not going to have time to ask you where you think Casey Kane's going to be be next year, but I've got to get in another commercial break. And we always save room for eye candy. I know he's devastated. Eye candy and our conversation with the captain, Roger Penske, still ahead. Don't go anywhere. I have a bit of bad news. There's no wind tunnel extra tonight. It involves the schedule change, a lot of complicated things, too much to get into. We'll have it next week as usual. I want to kill two birds with one stone here. Tonight's last call pre-recorded. Our last caller has been kind of busy this week, also providing our help yourself to happiness moment. Yesterday, Roger Penske went right to the head of the buffet line and took a double helping of racing success. So we'll cue the cow and call it last call. I'm not going to ask you which meant more, winning your 16th 500 pole or winning the All-Star race, unless you want to tell me that. But I would be interested to know which was more stressful for you.
Well, I'd say, Dave, both situations create a lot of stress. But the ability of Castroneves at Indianapolis, he turns a light on, I think, and he's so focused, and he has been all month. And to see him run that 28-lap time was just amazing, and I think that really broke the backs for most of the people. Will Power stepped it up. Briscoe obviously qualified fourth. He was disappointed he couldn't get on the front row. But then going to Charlotte, and, Kurt had a great car at the beginning. He led a number of laps, and they got into the wall. Then, obviously he felt the day was over, but Addington, who's been a great crew chief, kept him cool. We came in, made a few adjustments there and for the last 10 laps, and little lady luck, and off we went. But I would say, that happened so fast at Charlotte. We had more time to think about it at Indy. So to me, both of them, very important to the team and our people and our sponsors. Of course, $1 million didn't hurt down in Charlotte.
Always nice to win $1 million. What did you think of the new qualifying format? Should IndyCar keep it? Should they tweak it in some way, or should they junk it?
Well, I think it's great. I think there was a lot of interest. I got a number of emails today, in fact, calls. John Martin, who used to be with ABC, said, look, it's great. He said, we're starting to see some people. We want to watch it. And I think the teams, there's lots of jockeying, as you probably saw. call there at the end, who would run, who wouldn't run. But to me, it focused, on the last hour and a half of the show, which is good. People stayed in the stands, and quite honestly, we need a little change up there. And I think with Randy Bernard and 5 women in that race, we had 40 cars. Had the ability to run for the pole yesterday. Things have changed, and I think we're on the upswing.
Bernard's got a great idea that the Coke 600 promoter Bruton Smith stole last week and made some headlines by leaking, and that is to pay the $20 million bonus to any driver who could win both the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 in the same weekend. What do you think of that idea?
Well, I think it's a great idea. Obviously, you want to be on the winning end of that. It's going to take a lot of planning, and get drivers that, have the capability to run both races is going to be very interesting. But I guess they haven't announced it yet. It's, Bruton always tests the market ahead of time. But I think it'd be very interesting.
You, of all the owners, are best qualified to make that attempt. Does a $20 million bonus have any impact on your planning? Would you seriously consider this if they announce that it's actually going to happen?
Well, if they would announce it would happen, I definitely would look at some combination or double combinations to try and attack that opportunity, because I think the publicity of the events, the drivers, for your sponsors, and obviously it would be a tremendous feat if it could happen.
If $1 million's good, $20 million's 20 times that good.
I guess.
I assume you're going to do the double next Sunday. Personally, your man Castro Neves has the opportunity to join the 4-time winners. Will Power reminded us yesterday he's much more than a street course racer, and Briscoe has noted inside road too. What most worries you in the week before the 500? What obstacle stands between you and a 16th victory in the big race?
Well, I think, Dave, it's just staying on focus. We know what we have to do. We don't have the time to prepare the cars we've had in the past. We've had to do our running for the pole, running race setups even up through this afternoon. They'll be running, and I think based on that, reliability is key. I think the engine reliability has been outstanding. And then at the end of the day, it's patience. And it's a little bit of lady luck. I think the fact we got the first 2 pits is key. That's for Castro Neves and Power. Briscoe will be in the 8th pit. But overall, it's just going to be stay focused. And to me, you can't press. This race will come to you as it has in the past. And we're going to pull out our playbook. And I think with Hendrick working with Elio and Clive Howe with Will Power, I'll work with Briscoe's car. We'll have, 3 good shots. So focus is going to be our main product of this week.
Roger, again, thank you very much for your time on a busy weekend, and congratulations on the double accomplishment.
Great to talk to you. Thanks for everything.
And just a quick reminder, the top Super 7 sweep scorer this month gets the Kurt Busch Blue Deuce diecast that he actually autographed in Victory Lane last night. Jeff Gordon, final question. Spinning out of today's Hall of Fame induction, when they were trying to select the first class, there was a lot of talk about the criteria. What does it take to be a Hall of Famer? Let me frame the question to you this way. Limiting it to racing now that you're a married father,
right.
What if you could only have one of your many accomplishments? If you could only keep one, what would it be?
Oh, man. See, this is why I come on the show, Dave. These tough questions. I'm so proud of things that I've done prior to NASCAR that stand out in my mind. Belleville being one of them. I mean, to go.
How about I give you 3?
To go and almost lap the entire field. Those are moments that stand out in my mind. But there's no way that I could ever top the fact that I dreamed about racing at Indy. To be able to top the inaugural Brickyard 400 in 1994. I still think it has been and always will be. The moment that